film sets it up as a straight power check in Minas Tirith. The Witch King confronts Gandalf the White, raises his weapon, and breaks Gandalf's staff before flying off when the horns of Rohan sound. Visually, it suggests the Lord of the Nazgul has the upper hand. In the book, the moment is tense but unresolved, and Gandalf is not humbled. At the gate of Minas Tirith, after Grond smashes the doors, we do not have trolls smash their way through straight away. It's the Witch King who rides in, and Gandalf bars the way. "You cannot enter here," the Lord of the Nazgul answers. "Old fool, this is my hour. Do you not know death when you see it?" He lifts his flaming sword, and before any blow is struck, a cock crows and the horns of Rohan roll over the fields. The Witch King turns to meet them. No staff breaks, no defeat. Gandalf's authority stands. The duel simply does not happen. And yes, the interruption by the Rohirrim happens in both versions. The lie is that the film added a beat where the Witch King shatters Gandalf's staff and visually overpowers him. That part is pure cinema, not Tolkien. In Peter Jackson's films, Bilbo slips away from his birthday party. Gandalf confronts him, and almost immediately after, Frodo is told to take the ring and leave the Shire. It feels like the whole story kicks off within a matter of days. But in Tolkien's book, that's not how it happened at all. 17 years pass between Bilbo's farewell and Frodo setting out with the ring. 17. Frodo doesn't leave Bag End until he's 50 years old. But you might wonder, why does this even matter? Well, because it completely changes the weight of the story. Gandalf spends years searching for the truth about the ring, travelling Middle-earth and eventually confirming its identity through Isildur's scrolls. Meanwhile, Frodo lives a normal life, one of comfort, routine, small joys, while all the while carrying a growing unease about his inheritance. The films compress all of this for pacing, and you can see why. Audiences don't want to sit through 2 decades of Hobbit life before the adventure begins. But in Tolkien's world, the long gap matters. It shows that the ring doesn't immediately corrupt Frodo the way it did Gollum. Hobbits are resistant, hardy, ordinary folk with extraordinary resilience. By skipping those years, the movies lose that slow burn dread, and Frodo's endurance feels less like the unique strength of his people and more like pure plot convenience. It is a small detail, but it changes the entire feel of Frodo's journey. After the chaos of the Pelennor Fields, the movie shifts quickly to the next stage of the war, but in the book, Tolkien slows things down to show us one of the most important scenes of Aragorn's entire story, and it's pretty much completely absent from the theatrical cuts. The Houses of Healing. In The Return of the King, Éowyn lies stricken after facing the Witch King. Merry is fading from the wound he received, and Faramir is near death after being dragged back from the madness of Denethor's pyre. Their survival seems uncertain. It's Aragorn who comes to them, not with the sword Andúril, but with Athelas, Kingsfoil, a humble herb that in his hands becomes something greater. With it, Aragorn heals the wounded, restoring life where death seemed certain. Tolkien writes, "The hands of the king are the hands of a healer, and so shall the rightful king be known." It's not just the healing, it is prophecy fulfilled. This moment is the confirmation that Aragorn is the true king, not because of his lineage or his sword or even his victories in battle, but because he brings restoration. The films admit this almost entirely. The extended edition does give us a tiny glimpse, but the weight of the scene is lost. By skipping it, the movie reduces Aragorn's kingship to more martial prowess, a warrior who leads armies to victory, rather than Tolkien's deeper version of a ruler who serves, restores, and gives life. It's one of the most profound differences between page and screen. In Peter Jackson's trilogy, Saruman's fate is sealed at Orthanc. In the extended edition of The Return of the King, he is confronted by Gandalf, stabbed by Wormtongue, and falls from his tower to be impaled on a wheel below. It is grim, cinematic, and very final. But in Tolkien's book, that's not where Saruman's story ends. After the fall of Isengard, Saruman is broken, yes, but he is not yet destroyed. Gandalf spares him, stripping him of power, but allowing him to wander. And wander he does. all the way back to the Shire. There, under the name Sharky, he becomes a petty tyrant of Hobbiton, twisting the land into something unrecognisable. Smoke and industry choke the fields, hobbits are enslaved or cowed into submission, and all the while Saruman rules with bitterness, cruelty and spite. Wormtongue is by his side, degraded even further until he finally snaps and kills his master at Frodo's very doorstep. It is an ending that completes Saruman's fall, from the White Wizard, wisest of the Istari, to a small, mean-spirited despot brought down by his own servant. It also delivers the Hobbits' final test, returning home to find their land in ruins and proving they've grown enough to save it without the aid of kings or wizards. But I did cover this in our last video about the lies the movies told us. This is about Saruman, and by killing Saruman early, the films tidy up the narrative but remove the sting in the tale. The Shire is never scarred, the Hobbits are never tested on their own terms, and Saruman's downfall loses its bitter irony. The book gives us tragedy, the film gives us spectacle. And when Christopher Lee found out he wasn't even in the theatrical cut of The Return of the King, he could not hide his disappointment. If you only know The Lord of the Rings from the movies, the name Imrahil might mean nothing to you. And that's because he isn't there at all. But in Tolkien's book, Prince Imrahil of Dol Amroth is one of the most important Gondorian leaders during the War of the Ring. He isn't just another soldier in the background, he takes command when Denethor falls into despair, he helps lead Gondor's defences during the siege, and he even fights side by side with Éomer at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. One of his most memorable moments comes when he helps carry the wounded Faramir to the Houses of Healing, saving him from the flames of his father's madness. Without Imrahil, Faramir might not have survived to play his part in Gondor's renewal. His absence in the films means Gondor feels smaller, it's nobly less rich, and its response to Sauron's assault far more fragile. Jackson streamlined the story by focusing everything on Denethor, Faramir and Gandalf, but the cost was erasing one of Gondor's greatest lords, and with him the sense of a wider, older nobility standing behind the White City. In the books, Imrahil is a reminder that Gondor is more than one desperate steward and his troubled sons. It is more than just Minas Tirith and Osgiliath. It is a kingdom with allies, princes, and traditions that go back to Númenor itself. The movies never let us see that. Few sequences in Peter Jackson's trilogy are as thrilling as the Battle of Helm's Deep. Rain pouring, walls crumbling, thousands of Uruk-hai crashing against the Hornburg, and just when all seems lost, a company of elves led by Haldir arrives to aid Rohan. It is heroic, it is cinematic, and it never happened in Tolkien's books. In the text, the Battle of Helm's Deep is fought entirely by men. No last-minute reinforcements from Lothlorien, no shining ranks of elves standing shoulder to shoulder with the Rohirrim. Tolkien wrote it this way for a reason. Helm's Deep is the proving ground for men, a moment where they must stand on their own without the immortal elves beside them. It's a turning point in the history of Middle-earth, the moment when the Age of Men begins in earnest. By adding the elves, the films change the theme completely. It becomes one more desperate alliance of elves and men, rather than the beginning of men standing alone against the shadow. And while it makes for a powerful spectacle, and gave film audiences one more chance to see these elves in battle, it blurs Tolkien's vision of the world shifting away from them towards the dominion of men. Even Haldir's death, dramatic as it is an invention. It gives emotional weight, yes, but it also simplifies the story into a last stand of everyone together, rather than the more poignant truth, that men alone carried the night at Helm's Deep. In the Fellowship of the Ring film, the moment Frodo is carried across the ford of Bruinen is unforgettable. Arwen races on horseback, pursued by the Nazgul, summoning the river to sweep them away. It's one of the most iconic sequences in the trilogy. But in Tolkien's book, that wasn't Arwen at all. It was Glorfindel. Glorfindel is one of the mightiest elf lords still dwelling in Middle-earth during the Third Age. He is ancient, powerful, and revered. In fact, Tolkien makes it clear that the Witch King himself once fled before Glorfindel in battle, after prophesying that no mortal man would ever defeat him. But by giving this role to Arwen, the films remove one of the last glimpses of that great, almost mythic elven power. It also reduces Glorfindel to a name in the appendices, a legendary figure who never makes it onto the screen. Now, from a storytelling perspective, the change can make sense. Arwen's role in the book is largely confined to the appendices, and the filmmakers wanted her presence to be felt in the main narrative. But the cost of that choice was high. Arwen is made more active, but Glorfindel is erased entirely. There was even a point Arwen was going to be added to the Battle of Helm's Deep as well, but thankfully that one was taken out in the edit, although you can see the odd hint of her in the final film itself. But as for the Ford of Bruinen in the books, it isn't just Frodo's rescue. It is a reminder of how terrifying the ancient elf lords still were, and how thin the line was between Middle-earth's fading Third Age and the glory of ages past. The movies gave us romance and action, but the book, that gave us myth. And now to finish off today's video, we must think about Legolas. After all, everyone loves Legolas in Peter Jackson's films. He's agile, sharp-eyed, and always has a perfectly timed arrow. But the movie version of Legolas goes far beyond Tolkien's elf prince of Mirkwood, sometimes into outright superhero territory. Shield surfing down a staircase at Helm's Deep, taking down an entire Mumakil single-handedly, sliding, spinning, and performing acrobatics that feel more at home in a comic book than in Tolkien's Legendarium. Now, it's true that Tolkien's Legolas was no ordinary warrior. He runs lightly across snow when others sink into it. His eyes see further and clearer than men. He moves silently, strikes swiftly, and inspires awe in those around him. But Tolkien never wrote him as invincible. He certainly never framed him as a one-elf army capable of feats that overshadow those around him. In the book, Legolas's power lies in his otherness, his perception, his quiet grace, and his ability to endure. He represents the elves as they truly are, fading, but still beautiful, still dangerous, still connected to the world in the ways men can't fully understand. The films, however, leaned into cinematic spectacle. Legolas became the action hero foil to Gimli's comic relief, a character who could deliver jaw-dropping moments in the middle of a chaotic battle. It's fun, it's iconic, but again it is not quite Tolkien. By turning Legolas into an action star, the films traded subtlety for spectacle, and while audience love it, the book's vision of Legolas as a quiet reminder of elven majesty just kind of faded into the background. And so there we have it. Here are some more of the biggest lies Peter Jackson's movies told us. From the duel between Gandalf and the Witch King, to Frodo's 17 years of quiet life in the Shire, to Aragorn's healing hands in the Houses of Healing. Every change tells us something of how a movie is such a different medium to a book. Some choices streamlined the story. Some created unforgettable cinematic moments. And others, well, they still spark debate decades later. But that's the beauty of these adaptations. The films are true masterpieces of cinema, debatably the greatest ever made. But the books, they carry depths that they could never fully capture in those runtimes. And diving into those differences, at least in my opinion, only makes both versions richer. But now it is your turn. Which of these changes bothers you the most? Are there still more that I have missed out from either of these two videos? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And along with that, if you would like to support the channel in other ways, please consider our Patreon. It would really help us out in that up and down world of YouTube. But with that, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.